Welcome, Gunrunner.
Hello everybody, Kieran aka the Laird here, and I'm back with a new episode of the Laird's Lowdown, and once again sitting in my chair as I continue to recover from rather painful ankle surgery. So, what I'm going to be talking about today was some news that hit just the end of last week, and when I saw it, I was really quite surprised by it, to be honest, and did a bit of reading up and saw what some other people had to say on the subject and stuff, and thought, yeah, I think I need to make a video about this, mainly because it surprised me so much. And this is the news that apparently Arcade 1UP, who of course make all those replica 3/4 size arcade machines, have gone bust. Yes, but it hasn't actually been officially announced anywhere. This is the interesting thing about it. This news came via actually more than one leak, which I'll talk about in a moment. But as far as one Arcade 1UP even are concerned, they have made no announcements about this. They seem to have gone into radio silence. There are no updates on their website. In fact, the last update they put on their website was from like June or something like that, I think, when I looked. And actually one person who I know of reached out to them to ask them if they had gone bust, basically. And they replied with, "We are continuing to trade and offer parts and new machines," or something like that. And I thought, so they haven't really denied it. They've just said that they're continuing to trade. And often, you know, when companies launch bankruptcy proceedings, they do continue trading. That is quite common. Unless they're completely insolvable, they will carry on trading and carry on selling whatever products or stock or whatever that they have at that current time. But I did notice, actually, when I looked last week, when the announcement first went out, I looked at their website to see if there was anything on their website. I did notice that the arcade machines that they had, a lot of them were on sale. They were reduced. But I've just looked again before filming this video, and I think there's only one reduced now. But the range seems to be really small. I'm not sure if it was that small when I looked last week, but they only seem to have a few arcade machines from Namco, a few from Midway, aka Warner Brothers. So they're Midway machines that they've licensed from Warner Brothers. And they've got a couple of the Incredible Technologies ones, which is like Golden Tee and Big Buck. I think the Midway ones are Fast and Furious, NBA Jam and Mortal Kombat. And then the Namco ones, I think, are Time Crisis or Point Blank, and I think Ms. Pac-Man, and I think there might be another Namco one, maybe it's normal Pac-Man, I think it is actually, but yeah, a really small range compared to what they were selling not so long back, when they had a massive range of different arcade machines available. And they've still got those infinity boards, you know, the game boards where you can have different board games on them. They've still got those for sale. That's their own product though. But yeah, and someone has actually said, there is a long thread about it on Reddit, and I'll link the thread actually down below because there's loads of information in that thread. It takes a long time to go through, but it's worth a read. That's where a lot of this information came from, where it broke actually, I believe, was on Reddit. And there's someone in there who said they just bought some parts for their Tempest machine from them. And when I say Tempest machine, that leads me on nicely to what part of this story. Because you will notice that although that person's managed to buy parts for their Tempest machine, there's no Atari machines available to buy on the Arcade 1UP website. And one of the reasons why that is because actually, I think it was earlier this year? I think it was much earlier this year. Atari actually took Arcade 1UP to court. And this apparently is supposedly the reason why Arcade 1UP have now gone bust, because they owe so much money. Mainly to Atari, but rumoured to other people as well. Although neither Warner Brothers or Namco have commented on this and say their machines are still for sale, and Incredible Technologies. But yeah, apparently they owe lots of money to lots of people. And the reason why Atari took them to court, they weren't paying any royalties. So they were selling all these Atari branded machines, replicas of stuff like Centipede and Tempest and Missile Command or whatever, and they weren't paying any royalties on them at all. So they owe Atari an absolute ton of money, and you just can't do that. You can't not pay royalties, especially to big companies when you're licensing stuff from them. I find that staggering that they thought they could get away with not paying royalties on these machines, and why they weren't doing it. And apparently that was the first signs that they were in financial trouble. And then on Friday just gone, last week, there was an announcement. Sorry for the jump. I had a cat in the room. She wanted to go out and she was going mad. It was very, very much distracting me because the door is sort of over there from me, and she was at the door wanting to go out. But yes, so there was basically someone posted a copy of an email they were sent, and this person was a beta tester for Arcade 1-Up, and they'd got an email from someone at Arcade 1-Up basically saying, thanks for your hard work, but all of Arcade 1-Up staff are being laid off today. We've been told we've been laid off because the company's gone bust, and so basically your services as beta testers won't be needed anymore. And then later on, I think it might have even been in the same day, someone from Code Mystics, and if you know who they are, basically they're the developers who basically make the software for the Arcade 1-Up machines. So they're the people who write all the emulation code to emulate, these old games for the Arcade 1-Up machines. And Code Mystics also wrote all the network play code and stuff like that, basically saying this is true. We've been told they've gone bust as well. There was someone from Code Mystics speaking. Unfortunately, this person apparently now has deleted all their comments. So we only have some information to go on, but apparently they got cold feet and thought, this is bringing too much attention to me, and deleted all their comments. But they basically have said that they've already implemented a workaround for network play, because apparently Arcade 1-Up servers are going to all be turned off. So you can connect to a different server or do a straight connection with somebody you want to play with. They're very clever. Apparently they saw this coming and had already put a back door in to make sure that it was future-proof, so to speak, their network code, which is really good news for people who own Arcade 1-Up machines and those who like to play network play as well. I mean, I must say that I don't own any Arcade 1-Up machines, though I have been tempted by them. But to me, they're just simply too expensive, especially when you're getting just like maybe one or two or three games or something. Usually a lot of them are just one game. So I'm not going to pay, close to £1,000 in some cases for an arcade machine to play one game. You can go and buy a multicade or go and buy an original arcade machine for less than that, to be honest. I know you can hack them and stuff to run other games, but I could buy multicade, like I say, for cheaper, which would be full size, because one of the things that I don't like about the Arcade 1-Ups as well is they're smaller machines, and so you have to buy the riser to lift them up so they're the right height. Great if you're kids or you're small, but I'm not small. I'm 6 foot. I'm not a short guy. So those without the risers, I mean, I've seen them at retro events, and without the risers, they're too short for me, and I have a very bad back. I have a lot of things wrong with me medically, unfortunately, and one of my problems is my back. I have very, very severe issues with my back, and so hunching over is just not a thing I could do. I mean, you can buy the stalls separately as well to go with them, but you really need the risers to bring them up to the correct height. And that's even more money on top. So if you want the stall and you want the riser and then the arcade machine, it's so much money, and I think this is why they've gone bust. I think, to be honest, I think these machines were a bit of a novelty thing at first. They were like, people are like, oh, this is really cool. And you could buy them in a lot of high street stores. Like, for example, over here in the UK, Smith's Toys, which is like the biggest toy store chain. They replaced Toys R Us, really. They bought up, actually, where Toys R Us closed down. They kind of moved into a lot of the places where Toys R Us closed down. But Smith's was selling them. I've seen them in there. I've played with them in Smith's. So they were selling them. And, yeah. And I always thought they're cool, but they're too expensive. And I think that's what's happened to them. People have, the novelty of these machines has worn off. People have seen they can get other things cheaper, and I'm guessing they're just not getting the sales that they were, especially now money is a lot tighter with a lot of people. The cost of living crisis in the UK is horrendous. I know in America it's not been great either, although not as bad as it is in the UK and Europe. Yeah, and I think that it's just a model that has run out of steam. They were just too expensive. I mean, the rumour is going round, very strong rumour, is that Basic Fun, who of course have moved into this sector of making these full-size arcade machines recently, they've just done WrestleFest, for example. That was big news, although they completely messed that up. They licensed WrestleFest, just to give some background for those who don't know, the classic Technos arcade game. They got the license from the WWF, or WWE, sorry, and they got the license from Technos to do the game, but they didn't secure the licenses for all the wrestlers. So because not all of the wrestlers are under Legends contracts with WWE, so some would require separate licenses with the individuals. And it meant that the game is completely botched. Apparently it's not that good emulation either, but there's no Legion of Doom, and the Legion of Doom are the key part of WrestleFest. It's winning the tag team titles, which you have to win from Legion of Doom. It's the story mode. There's the cut scenes with Legion of Doom, the interviews with Legion of Doom. You can't have that game without Legion of Doom. It doesn't work. And they could have very easily licensed Legion of Doom because they're on the Retrofest wrestling that they did, where the spiritual successor, so to speak, to WrestleFest, where they licensed Legion of Doom for that. So they could have very easily licensed Legion of Doom. I mean, both of them are dead now. And funnily enough, I interviewed Animal literally 2 weeks before he died. Funnily enough, for an article on WrestleFest that I wrote. Great shame. But yeah, they could have very easily licensed their likenesses from the estates of both wrestlers. And the other person who's missing is Matt. Because it's got WrestleFest on it, and it's got Superstars on the same cabinet. And Macho Man is missing from Superstars. Again, they could have licensed him. He's in Retrofest Wrestling as well. And there's someone else who's missing as well. And my brain's gone. I can't think who it is. It might be Sergeant Slaughter. I'm trying to think. But again, it's someone they could have. It's someone they could have easily licensed. So it's crazy how much they botched that. So both the games on it, WWF Superstars, the original one, and WrestleFest, both aren't the same as the arcade originals. They've been botched to make them work with those missing wrestlers, which is rubbish. Especially Superstars. Superstars had such a small roster in the first place anyway. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy the way they've messed that up. But I digress. I've got off on a tangent there. But apparently Basic Fun are going to buy out Arcade 1-Up. So let's hope that happens, because it's always sad to see companies close down and stuff. But I've reviewed quite a few Basic Fun products on the channel, actually, some of the mini arcade machines that are on the shelf above me up there. And I've never been impressed by their stuff. I've always found Basic Fun stuff is crap, to be honest with you. And the reviews of, say, the WrestleFest machine have been bad. So in that respect, it might not be a good thing that Basic Fun take them over, because I don't think Basic Fun have a very good understanding of what people actually want from these retro machines. Basic Fun just seem to want to make money any way possible. They seem to think the name is the biggest thing and not how it plays. Whereas Arcade 1-Up, I think, were a bit more serious about creating, accurate experience. Is probably faithful, however you want to word it, a more faithful experience. Yeah. So, that's it really. I mean, let's say at the time of making this video, which is only yesterday from when this goes out, I've just checked. There's still no updates, so we still don't know the true story other than what's going on in that Reddit thread. But I'm sure we will hear in due course what's going on.
Hang on there, it's not over, because just a matter of hours before this video went live, Arcade 1-Up actually spoke and put out an announcement, which you can now see on the screen. And it is indeed correct, the rumour that I spoke about in this video already. I didn't really see much point in redoing this whole video again, because all the information in it is essentially correct. I thought it was just better to add on this little supplemental explaining what the current situation is. So it reads, "Hello arcade community, we want to address a few questions we've seen circulating about the Arcade 1-Up product lines. Basic Fun has acquired selected assets of Arcade 1-Up and intends to support to the best of our ability the home arcade category and existing Arcade 1-Up products currently on the market. This asset acquisition reflects our ongoing commitment to expanding our presence in the home arcade space, supporting current Arcade 1-Up titles and products alongside our own existing arcade offerings. We'll have more to share in the new year and look forward to continuing to serve the arcade fan community. Game on." So I notice it says selected assets, so it doesn't look like they've obtained the whole company, which probably means why they've just laid everyone off. I'd assume that they've probably literally just bought the Arcade 1-Up IP and possibly the licenses for some of the games or perhaps the technology. I'm not sure, but that would be my guess. They obviously maybe doesn't say anything about the Infinity Game Board, so I'm guessing that that's not part of the acquisition. I'm guessing it is just the Arcade 1-Up name, and means they can support those customers, get that URL, and that name's better known than Basic Fun, certainly. So I think that's probably what they've done. But we'll find out. But there we go. It's just typical that just as that video is about to go live, Arcade 1-Up drop an official announcement. But that's it. I still want to know what you think. So obviously please let me know what you think down in the comments below. At least we have a resolution for this video and it won't be lots of people going actually down in the comments. So I'd love to hear your thoughts, and we'll await further announcements from Arcade 1-Up going forward. As always, thanks for watching. I've been the Laird, and I'll see you all again for another video very soon. Bye bye.